Hi there, y'all. Over the last couple of days, I've been asked by quite a few people, what is it that I want? Why am I doing this? What is the purpose of this channel? Why am I putting myself out there? Why is it that I'm taking risks? But the question that keeps coming over and over and over again is, Robbie, why are you even doing this? What's the point? What do you hope to change? Well, I'm going to do my best to answer that question. I'm not going to give you any logical arguments or anything like that. This is an answer that comes straight from my heart. I'm going to explain to you why I'm doing this and what my goal is, and we'll kind of go from there. Just going to be a conversation from me to you. First, let me tell you, it would be very, very easy just to stay on my tax farm and not make any waves, go along with the flow, don't stick out, don't be the nail that's poking up, because that's always one that gets drove down by the hammer, right? That would be the easy course. One thing I can tell you, I don't necessarily always go the easy way. Ever since I was a little kid, I always kind of marched to my own drum. And I don't really know if that was an influence from my dad or my grandfather. I'm sure that was part of it. I've always seen things a little bit different. All that I've ever wanted is the freedom to make my own mistakes. Let me learn. Well, I guess that sums it up. I want the freedom to be able to make my own mistakes. I want to be able to make my own way. I don't want someone, whether it's a person or if it's the government, looking over my shoulder saying, Robbie, you cannot do this, or Robbie, you can do this. I want to be left alone. That's a fundamental belief I've always had in my heart. And so that's why I think that this gets so personal for me with this YouTube channel and writing letters to the editor and reaching out to people. I'll tell you, this is not an easy road to hoe. I have lost friends who I've known for years. I have been alienated by family members. I have been called every name in the book. I have paid a price over the 10 years of activism or more that I've been engaged in. I've had opportunities that I've had slip away because I wouldn't conform. I would not submit to having the shackles put around my wrists of political correctness, and I would not submit to being on my little tax farm, working 40 or 50 hours a week to make tax money for the government to go and piss away, either on the welfare state or on the warfare state. I've always had a problem with that. I don't think it's right to steal from somebody at the point of a gun and give that money to somebody else. And that's the same whether it's for a person or whether it's for the government. There's a difference between charity and taxation. Taxation is theft. Charity is something that I do willingly, or that you would do willingly. When Uncle Sam sticks his fingers in your paycheck every week or 2 weeks, whatever it is that you get paid, and you have a couple $100 taken away without your consent, that's theft. If you don't pay your taxes, you have armed people with guns, and they take you to prison to make an example out of you. And to add insult to injury, you have to go get a permit to build a shed on your own land, or if you don't pay your property taxes, see what happens. You never actually own the land that you live on or the home that you're in. You're renting it from the state. If you don't believe me, stop paying your property taxes and see what happens. And then you start going through school and you learn all this PC, let's just call it what it is. You learn all this political correct bullshit. You learn that all peoples are exactly the same. And you learn that all cultures are exactly the same. There's no difference. And that they're all glorious and that one is no better than the other. And history shows us differently. History shows us that Western civilization is unique. Western civilization gave us the whole idea of the scientific method. So when you start putting away superstition and start observing with your own eyes, and you learn how the real world works. And they gave us, our ancestors gave us, freedom of religion. You don't have to submit to some church in a faraway land or risk being executed the way they used to be. Like in the days of the Reformation, one of the reasons that Martin Luther nailed that thesis onto the door of that church in Germany was because of the unending wars that were being fought over and over and over and over again in Europe. Kings are absolute. The divine right of kings is a false right. And we see that now looking back in time. But back in the Middle Ages, late Middle Ages, that was considered gospel truth, is that kings had a right to rule. They were placed where they on the throne by the will of God and his sovereignty, and that was it. Looking back, we see that's wrong. But we've rejected the divine right of kings, but we have now adopted the divine right of oligarchs. You get people like John McCain or Lindsey Graham or Chuck Schumer, and we vote them into office, and then we submit to what they say without batting an eye. And by we, I mean the population as a whole. Obviously not, I don't. And if you're watching this video and if you're have the same ideas that I have, this of course doesn't apply to you. I'm making a general statement here. So I mean, again, it all goes back to why? Why am I doing this? It would be so much easier just to shut up, sit down, keep my beliefs to myself, and go with the flow, go with the tide. I'm not built that way. I'm not. I have two really big reasons why I am so adamant with fighting back against the neocon and globalist agenda. Their names are Courtney and Thomas. I am worried about their future. I don't want those two little kids of mine to grow up and all that they know is tax slavery. I want them to be able to make their own life. I want them to have the freedom to make their own choices. I want them to have the freedom to make their own mistakes. I want for them to have the freedom to make the decisions, good and bad, without Uncle Sam looking over their shoulder and saying, you can't do that. I want them to learn true history and be able to talk about it without being called a bigot, without being called a racist, which on its face is laughable because they're mixed, they're half black. But that doesn't matter. If you go against the orthodoxy that's taught in the public schools or that's crammed down our throats by political correctness, you are a racist, you are a bigot, you are a xenophobe, name the label. They will throw it out there. And then the government with their whole hate crime crap. I'm sorry, if I shoot somebody and kill them, they're just as dead. It doesn't matter if I shot them because I hated them or not, or vice versa. What difference does it make? A crime is a crime. A victim is a victim. An aggressor is an aggressor. Let's stop with the labels. But I digress. But I get passionate about this. But I guess at the end of the day, the reason why I'm doing this, I want my kids to grow up being free. I want them to know what real freedom and real liberty is. I want unborn children to be able to be born without running the risk of their mother legally killing them in the womb. I want people to be able to keep more of their income. I want people to get involved. I want people to stop being scared. And I'm asked over and over again, Robbie, do you really think that you can make a difference? Do you think we can win this thing? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if we'll be able to win this thing in the political arena. I don't know if we'll be able to win this thing in the political arena the way that the demographics are being shaped up through immigration and what have you. The breakdown of American culture because of multiculturalism. I don't know. Is this going to end in violence? I don't know. Can we win this thing? Again, I don't know. And what this reminds me of, and I'm gonna close on this. When I was a kid, I guess it was probably around Thomas's age, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. I was talking to my granddaddy, probably the smartest man I've ever known. And we were talking about General Lee. And we were discussing about the choice that he made, whether to leave the service of the United States. Whenever he was offered total command of the entire Union Army, or go and join the Confederacy after Virginia seceded. And we all know what happened. He resigned his commission in the United States Army. He went, and after 4 years, he ended up having to surrender at Appomattox Courthouse there in Virginia. But that war was a terrible, cruel thing. And my grandfather once told me, he said, Robbie, he said, you're not going to find this in any books. He said, in his heart of hearts, he believed that Lee knew the South could never win that war. They didn't have the industrial capacity to do it. They didn't have the population. The logistics, especially in the western states, were an absolute nightmare. But he did what he believed was right. And he did what his conscience demanded of him. And I said, Papaw said, if that's true, and if General Lee thought in his heart of hearts that he would never be able to defeat the Union Army and bring them to heel, if you don't have any chance of winning, why do it? And he said, Robbie, sometimes it ain't about winning against your enemies. Sometimes it's just about fighting them. I guess that's where I am right now. I'm fighting the social justice warriors. I'm fighting against the globalist order. I'm fighting against the neocons. I'm fighting against the socialists and the communists in Washington. And we've lost a lot already. We've lost the idea of states' rights. Our history books in schools they're fiction for the most part. And so if you ask me, Robbie, can we win this thing? Again, I tell you, like I said before, I have no idea. But I'm going to quote my grandfather, sometimes it's not about winning, sometimes it's just about fighting them bastards. So how about it? Are you going to join me on the battlefield? Are you going to take the slings and arrows? Are you going to raise your voice in opposition? Or are you going to sit on your couch and be quiet and not ruffle any feathers, be timid, and just have the shackles of slavery put around your necks and the necks of your kids and your grandkids and not speak up? That's where we're at. As for me and my house, I know what we're going to do. I'm going to fight like hell, and I hope to see you on the battlefield.